The arts influence everyday life and are all around us. From the cars we drive, advertisements and billboards, and architecture, and the buildings that we live and work in, the apps on our phone, the tablets and websites we visit, even movies and TV shows we watch are all examples of visual performing arts. Ballet specifically is a performance art form that is suffering in our modern society, and changes need to be made so that it changes with the times before it is erased from our modern culture and becomes just an archaic footnote. So the National Endowment for the Arts is a program, and it conducts a national survey. It began in 1982 and it collects information especially on audience attendance. And so that's what we're going to look at. In 1982, 39% of all adult Americans attended a live performance event. Ballet happens to be one of these benchmark art forms, which means data was collected on it in the initial year that the survey was done and has no bearing on how good of an art form it is. In 1992, 41% of adult Americans attended a live performance event. This number drops to 39.4% 10 years later in 2002 and continues to decrease in 2008 to 34.6%. And in 2012, which is the last year the survey was conducted, to 33.4%. And this trend shows not only a gradual decline, but a steady decline that is continuing and will continue for years to come unless serious changes are made by arts organizations. So the main problem that I'm focused on is the fact that ballet audiences are literally disappearing. They are dying out. And if changes aren't made, ballet will become a historical footnote, just something that people read in art history. The solution to this problem is the integration of technology in ballet performances. Little ellipsoidal light bulb there. Technology use in performance increases audience engagement. So if we have classical ballet plus doing the same thing that we've always done equals unengaged, disinterested audiences who will literally die out and are not replaced by new audiences. But if we combined classical ballet with technology, we get engaged and happy patrons who will continue to come back to the ballet and bring their friends and their children for years and decades to come. So to kind of understand what ballet is, we need to look at its history and how it has adapted to changing cultures and advancing modernization in the past. We'll start with ballet where it began, which was the Italian Renaissance. Catherine de' Medici, pictured here on the right, was a great patroness of the arts, and when she married King Henry II of France, she brought ballet, which you see here, with her to France. At this time, though, it was more of a court ballroom dance that people did at balls, not necessarily as much of a performance spectator experience like it is now. So we continue to the next slide. And here we see King Louis XIV, the Sun King. He was the King of France, and he loved ballet. And not only did he perform in ballets himself, as you can see here from his costume in La Nuit de Magique, where he was, of course, the sun, but he also hired teachers and is credited with being kind of the founder of a codified vocabulary of steps and body positions that are still used today. And this is why, even though ballet started out in Italy and was later taken over by the Russians, as we'll see, the vocabulary is all French. So here we have some very rough footage from 1905 of a ballerina dancing during the Romantic age of ballet. And during this time, Ballets were narrative, story-based, and these usually contained ethereal spirits and true love and great heroes and romantic storylines. Dancers began to rise up on the tips of their toes very, very briefly. The first woman credited with this is Marie Taglioni, pictured on the right. The shoes were more like ballet slippers that were just stiffened a little bit with some sewing along the tips. And they needed very, very strong feet in order to dance up on their toes like that, but it was only for a moment. And it gave the appearance of them floating ethereally across the stage, which lended itself to the romantic and mystical nature of the ballet and created a new level of engagement and spectacle for audiences of the time. From there we move to 1900s, the turn of the century, with Diaghilev, who is an amazing collaborator, was his big claim to fame. He created the Ballet Russes, and they performed a lot of events. In the video here we have Anna Pavlova, one of his very famous students, dancing on point, and she's able to stay up on point longer in this ballet, The Dying Swan. His ballets featured a lot of collaboration with other artists, including Miss Pavlova. You have Nureyev, you have George Balanchine were his students who became great artists in their own right, and then you also have composers like Stravinsky and Prokofiev, and even Pablo Picasso, who he worked with. So his big claim to fame was he transitioned ballet out of the Romantic age. You see the very short skirts, knee length in some cases, or in the platter tutu. But he really helped ballet adapt to a new culture and embrace collaboration and change at the turn of the century. From there we move on to Mr. Balanchine, Mr. B himself, one of Diaghilev's students. He's credited with being one of the greatest ballet choreographers in recorded history. He's responsible not only for creating School of American Ballet and New York City Ballet, but for industrializing the point shoe industry and advancing the training of the style of ballet forever. He put all women on point, not just the prima ballerinas, and required more dedicated training. His choreography often abandoned narrative storylines and instead focused more on the dancers themselves. And his choreography, as you can see, required a whole new level of athleticism and strength and endurance and agility, flexibility that was never even previously imagined, I believe. And this really added a whole new level. It just skyrocketed ballet to a whole new place. From there, we have present day, as you can see with Miss Svetlana Zurikova. Today's dancers are just as much athletes as they are artists. Audiences and choreographers demand increasing feats of agility and endurance to be entertained. Higher jumps, more turns, all with a giant smile on your face. And just as modern athletes require new technology in order to perform better, like better running shoes, better tennis rackets made out of more modern materials, so do dancers need these increases in technology in their point shoes, like gainer mittens, which use plastics instead of wood, instead of burlap and paste. So my thesis statement is the steady decline of the number of ballet patrons necessitates innovations in the incorporation of technology and performances while maintaining artistic integrity to ensure increased attendance in the future by engaging audiences with that technology. So my approach to this study, I am a classically trained dancer with professional experience as a point shoe fitter and arts administrator. I have firsthand knowledge of the issues facing ballet in today's society. I also did research in some very well-known dance periodicals such as Point and Dance Magazine, as well as peer-reviewed articles in research journals and art surveys like the National Endowment for the Arts survey as mentioned before. Some of the direct information that I have, like this one, which is from an article summarizing the National Endowment for the Arts survey that states 1 out of every 3 adults in America, which is roughly 78 million people, which seems like a lot, but you consider it's not even half of the adult population in America, attended a live performance event or arts exhibition in 2012. That sounds great, but it's a 6% decrease from 2008. So it's just going down, and something needs to be changed or it's going to keep decreasing. Audience have already moved from a passive arts attendance event, and they want more. They want to be actively engaged in an experience that goes beyond just sitting and watching something in the dark. And in order to achieve that engagement and that experience, ballet really needs to embrace technology and use it in its performances. Market research talks about how it's not, you can tell someone that a performance is great and that they'll love it and they won't really believe you. There's an uncertainty gap here, and attending a ballet is it's an expensive experience, not only financially but also time-wise. You know, you have to buy your tickets, and then you have to go to the theater, and then you probably get dinner or drinks before or after, and then you have to sit in the dark for 3 hours, and there's like 2 intermissions, and then you also have to go home. You probably have to pay a babysitter. You have to find someone to go with you. It's a lot for something that you're not sure of. So one way to combat that is to use technology and live performances and live stream performances to give people a taste of what they're going to see, so then they can be sure, oh yeah, no, that looks really cool. I think I'll really enjoy this. And giving them that bridge to make them want to come to, to buy a ticket to performance. This one is about specifically interactive backgrounds that are used in some modern day performances, and it really helps to not only change the experience for the dancer but for the audience as well, because it expands the entire environment and takes it out of just on a stage, and it creates a whole new experience and environment and a world really that the dance is taking place in. So the professional implications with this, I'm currently an arts administrator, so I'm in this world, and this is a real issue for me personally. Future connections, through doing research for this, I really found that I'm very interested in data analysis when it comes to arts research, and I think it's still a young field, and there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of potential in helping arts organizations and ballet organizations specifically find where they are lacking and what really the issues are that need to be addressed, so then they can prepare better and be better organizations and actually give people what they want. So here I have some examples of integrated technology in dance and ballet performances. Here we have a 3D generated background. This company in Russia did an entire Swan Lake performance with no practical sets at all. And this is integrated interactive backgrounds through skeletal mapping that's all dependent upon the performer's movements. And this is an example of e-traces, which is sewable electronics that take motion and weight pressure and send it to a digital device, which can either then be looked at afterwards as a whole image, or they can be live projected during the performance, as seen here. And it really adds another layer to the performance, because then the audience can see the weight, the movements, and the pauses. This is interactive backgrounds, which it creates an entire new world. It creates a story for the audience to be involved in, to see, to interpret the dance in a whole new way. This is a performance at a TED Talk where skeletal mapping was used with a camera to trace the dancer's movements and relay that through a computer program which created the digital image that you see here, which is projected onto a screen, and the light really becomes like a partner in that ballet. In conclusion, ballet organizations must continue to not only seek out new ways of improving technology used in performance as the limits of what is humanly possible is pushed, but they need to collaborate with other experts like Diaghilev did. Robotics, lighting, sound, computers, and electronics, as well as other genres of live performance. And those can be used to engage audiences and increase mutual patron numbers. And it's really time that the classical arts acknowledge the benefits of technology and embrace its use within ballet to the benefit of all, and the proliferation and advancement of the art form for centuries to come. And here are my references. Thank you so much.